Hey guys, it's Cordy. Today we're going to learn how to make ice cream sundaes in World of Warcraft because, well, it's summertime and everyone likes a good ice cream sundae. So let's get right to it. Here's a general list of supplies that are needed to make your ice cream sundaes. For the most part, the most important item is the elegant seat cushion. That's going to make the bulk of what the ice cream looks like. Slate cobblestones will make the chocolate chips. So if you do the chocolate chip ice cream, you're going to want to use those as well. You could really use any number of items for bowls. I made them out of the Ruddy Harnar pigment bowls, as well as the elegant Drather teacup and a gilded Eversong cup, just to show two different kinds. If you don't have the colorful striped egg for the top to give that little dollop, you don't really need it. We're going to get started with the chocolate chip ice cream sundae. I've sped the video up a bit so it won't take quite as long as it took me to make it. So the first step that I have here is an optional step. I like to make a tray for things like food, whether it's a plate or, like in this case, an actual tray. I used the Harbinger painting and I rotated that so it was horizontal and then pushed it down into my countertop. You can use any number of things to make a tray if you want to add one. Again, you don't really need to. It's completely up to you. The first step to making your ice cream is to make the bowl. So I used the elegant Drather teacup and I placed that. The next step would be to use the Ruddy Harnar pigment bowl. And you're going to rotate that so the taller part is towards the back. You can scale it up or down. The next step is going to be to cover over that pinkish pigment if you use the Harnar bowl. I used an elegant seat cushion and I scaled it to about 85%. I dyed the large part of the cushion the color of the ice cream. So here for me that was bone white. Next you're going to use elegant seat cushions to make the 4 layers of ice cream. I scaled mine. The first one is 80%. The second one was 65%. The third layer was 50%, and the fourth layer is 35%. Depending on how big your sundae is, you can scale that any way you like. The important thing is to make sure that you're pushing all of the layers down on top of one another so that you don't really have any visual gaps. And then I dyed these all bone white because I was going for a chocolate chip ice cream. You could dye them any color you want. The next step is taking that striped egg to make the dollop. I scaled mine to 70% and dyed this to match the color of the ice cream, which again was bone white. You place this on top of the 4th layer of ice cream and more or less just push it down. As you can see, most of the egg is going to wind up being hidden inside of the ice cream layers. There will be some overlap with the 4th layer and that's okay. If needed, and for your own taste, you can always adjust the scale to hide more or less of it. The last step here is really going to be using the slate cobblestone trios for the chocolate chips. I used 5 of them. You could use the cobblestone duos if you wanted as well. I scaled them down to 20% and then I dyed them heartwood because I just thought that was the nicest color brown that really looked like chocolate chips. As you see here, the bulk of the stones are going to be hidden in the ice cream. You can use more or less, however many makes you happy. Just like baking, adding chocolate chips is kind of one of those things you do until your heart feels happy. And as you can see as you go along, you'll just rotate those around and place them visually where you like them best. Now the great thing about ice cream is you can personalize it any way you want and use any color that you want. You could use a pink for strawberry chocolate chip ice cream or a light green for a mint chocolate chip. You could use additional brown to make a chocolate chip, really whatever you enjoy. Congratulations, you have made an amazing chocolate chip ice cream sundae. The next sundae that we're going to make is a creamsicle ice cream sundae. Right here again, we're going to start the same way by covering over the pinkish in the bowl. And to do that, we're going to use an elegant seat cushion. I scaled mine to about 85% and dyed the large portion of the cushion the color of my ice cream. Here, this was also bone white. Once that's hidden, you're going to now use 2 elegant seat cushions for each layer of ice cream. I had the sizes the same, so my first layer is going to be 80%. I dyed the large portion of the cushions the color of the ice cream. Here, mine are bone white, and then I'll go back in again and dye them actually copper because I didn't have any more Elwyn pumpkin when I was doing this example. But I did use Elwyn pumpkin in the example on the left. The only difference really in making this sundae is that you're going to place the first cushion, which I used as white, on top of the cushion covering over the pigment, push it down so there's no visual gaps. Now you're going to come in with that second cushion, which would be your orange if you're going for a creamsicle, and you're going to place it just so that they overlap a bit so it looks like 2 ice cream flavors are swirled together. As you can see, as I build mine, I left it the purple and then just went back in and dyed them all at the end. Again, you just want to come in, make sure that you're pushing them down so that there's no visual gaps, and then you're just going to overlap them slightly. You technically could put all of the vanilla-looking ice cream on one side and all of the other flavor on the other. I just happen to like how it looked staggered. And in finishing this one again, I just used the colorful striped egg at about 70% and dyed it the color of my ice cream to give it a little dollop on the top. Most of that egg is going to be hidden inside the ice cream layer. And then in the example that we made, I used the forbidden fork to make a spoon. And essentially I rotated the spoon that it was standing up and then rotated it so that it was angled slightly. And I pushed that into the side of the sundae so that just the top of the silver area of the handle was showing. That way you couldn't tell that you were eating ice cream with a fork. Not that I haven't been there and I don't judge. And again, even here, optionally, you could change the color cushions to make any flavor you want. If you did a white and a brown, you could make vanilla and chocolate. If you went for brown and pink, you could make a chocolate strawberry ice cream. The choices are really limitless. Congratulations, you've now made a fantastic creamsicle ice cream sundae. Thank you so much for following along. I hope that this video helps. For all things housing related, follow Cordy's World of Warcraft Housing on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, the World of Warcraft Housing Hub, and just recently Twitter and TikTok.